Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be back together after being out for the last few weeks and have the opportunity to gather back together in this sacred time. For those of you who are new to Satsang, which I imagine most of you are, we always begin with taking a question that's come from our audience that joins us online through this wonderful gift of technology. We start with a question from them, and then we open it up to any questions that anyone has here. It's आप लोग जहाँ तक जरूरी नहीं है बात ना करें, अगर बात करनी है तो शांति से बात करिएगा. The people joining us from all over, they're joining through different modalities of the web or social media, and they send in questions. We take one of those and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. There's a microphone right here. The boys will find a mic and stick it in there. And in the meantime, we will take one of the questions that's come in advance. I recently went through a painful breakup, and I feel as though I've lost a part of myself. How can I heal from this experience and rediscover who I am outside of this relationship? And this is asked from Samantha from Toronto, Canada. The gift of relationship becomes the heartache of relationship. When we say relationship is a yoga, I mean that in two ways. One is just colloquial. It's a spiritual practice. It's a sadhana. It's something that you practice at. It's not something that comes automatic. It's something that's a challenge that we work at. But yoga, the actual meaning of yoga is union. And it's a union of the self to the divine. And all of the different paths of yoga that we are on are different ways of re-remembering our union with the divine. Now, when we say relationship is a yoga, it means it is also a union, it is also a way of getting closer to the divine. Through uniting with another being, we lose the sense, that ignorant sense, that this is who I am. That's what we call Maya, illusion, suffering, in which I identify as just this body, this size, this shape, this height, this weight, this color, this physical thing. That's Maya. Ignorance, illusion. The truth is when we realize we are one with the divine. But in relationship, it begins by experiencing oneness with another being. And it may just be one other being at the beginning. But through that one other being, we experience a union with all. It's why being in love feels so good. And it's why you feel so good in love, even when you're not with the loved one. Right? You fall in love and you go to the office the next day and suddenly your awful job, you're singing doing it, and suddenly you're, buying lunch for everybody and tipping the incompetent waitress lots of money because anyway she's trying her best, and the things that Use sound, because there's some problem in the sound. What is that? I'm sorry? Oh. Thanks. So, as you are in love, that love expands to all. It's not just love for the one you're in love with. But that person has been a catalyst. And what's happened is we identify a lot of the changes within us as being connected to, due to, because of that person. So when we break up, not only have we lost the relationship, but we feel quite literally, like our sister Samantha has said, like we've lost a part of ourselves. And it's usually a very deep part, an important part. It's never, oh, I lost that awful part of myself. It's, I lost that beautiful part of myself. That part in which I was experiencing that oneness with all. And this is where we realize that the other person has been just the catalyst. The example, the way of understanding this that always works best for me is, think about someone you love. Anyone you love, doesn't matter. It can be romantic love, it can be family love, doesn't matter. Now, but think about somebody you love who is not here with you right now. Not someone you're sitting next to or that's sitting just behind or in front of you. Think about someone you love. Now, do you feel any less love for them? Because you're here in Rishikesh and they're maybe in Delhi or Mumbai or London or Tokyo or Sydney or wherever they may be. Do you feel less love for them? It's an actual question. Does anybody feel less love for the person they love because they're far from you? If anybody does, raise your hand. Okay. Now this is really important. If that love were based on their physical presence, you would feel less love for them here. The farther you were for them physically, the less love you would feel. Right? You stand near a fire, you feel warm. You walk away from the fire, you feel less warm. Very simple science. The heat is coming from the fire. Close to the fire, you're hot. Far from the fire, you're cold. But here you are sitting here. Tell me, just shout out, the loved ones you were thinking about. Where do they live? Just shout out the city of where that person is right now. Pune, Delhi? Here. Oh, New York. Okay, New York. I'm sorry? Bangalore? Pune, Delhi, New York, Bangalore. Any other cities? I'm sorry? Melbourne. Boston. You said something different. Charleston. But that's just because I know you. Okay. Those cities are really far away. Delhi is the closest of all of them. And Delhi is a good, 225 kilometers from here. It's like 180 miles or so. But we don't feel any less love. And New York, Charleston, Melbourne, those are thousands of miles away. But you don't feel any less love. It has nothing to do with the presence of that other person. The love is in you. Which means, just as you can feel it fully and 100% even when they're not physically present, it means you can feel it fully and 100% even when they're not emotionally present. If your loved one is asleep, do you feel less love? Right? Of course not. But who knows what they're dreaming about? I mean, you don't know that they're dreaming about loving you. Maybe they're having some other sort of dream. You have no idea. But just because they're not emotionally present with you, at that moment they're in dream sleep, or maybe they're in deep sleep, no dreams, they're thinking nothing. There's not even a self in there who loves you. They're emotionally absent. But you don't feel any less love. So either when they are physically present, physically not present, emotionally present, emotionally not present, in all of those cases, you are able to feel the love 100%. Which means that if they are no longer with you, in body because they've passed on to another world, or because they are here on planet Earth, but they've left you, they've divorced you, they've broken up with you, either way, you are not dependent on their physical presence or their emotional presence to feel the love. We've just determined this. Which means that all of the benefit that you have from loving, you have regardless of whether they're here with you physically or emotionally. What happens is our mind gets into a drama that says, I don't have the love anymore. Oh my God, they've left me, I don't have the love. And we convince ourselves that we don't. But we do. Just because someone doesn't love you doesn't mean that they've removed your ability to access the presence of love within you. They may have been the catalyst for it, but now it's on. And it's happening in you. Allow yourself to keep feeling that, to know that you haven't lost anything of you. Through their presence you gained, absolutely. But it's a forever gain. It's not a gain that you lose even if the relationship is over. What love gives us can never, ever, ever be taken away, regardless of how the relationship goes. But we have to remember that that love is in us, not physically in them. Otherwise, we let it go. We say, oh, they passed away, they divorced me, they hate me, they're on to another person, I've lost it. You haven't. You've lost their companionship, you've lost all of the other benefits of the relationship, sure. But you haven't lost the core experience that love gave you. You haven't lost the connection, the divine connection, the joy, the ability to be in love, to feel love. You haven't lost the part of yourself that loves. That's all in you. Now, though, you have this huge challenge to find it in you without that other person catalyzing it every minute, every moment, every day. And that's actually a really powerful and important life challenge. Because ultimately the point of life is not that I should just keep being catalyzed by other people. They're nice to me, they love me, they stay married to me or in a relationship with me so I can access love. They don't, so I can't. No. The point is to recognize that is your nature. That person just showed you your nature. But now it's up to you to hold on to it. So you haven't lost any bit of you. But you have to realize and have the mindset shift that it's in you, not in them. And that takes a moment. But it's a really important mindset shift because that love is in you. They were just the one who flipped it on. Great question. Any questions that anyone here has? Yes. Come forward to the mic. Ye jo aapki piche, let her come and then we'll have you come. Come. We have a rule in satsang, kids first. And then you. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I want to ask that when there is any competition, I get tensed. So what should I do to overcome this fear of competition?
Good question. Come here. Can you come up here? Come here. Come. You can just walk right up. There you go. Your legs. Yeah. Why not? Good. Come. Sit down. Yeah. There you go. Good. Okay. ये माइक मुझे देना. धन्यवाद. Okay. So she said when there's any competition, she feels tense, right? Now I'm going to turn on the mic and give it back to you, and I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, okay? Can you hold that? There you go. So my first question is, why do you feel tense when competition happens? When there's tension in you, what does your mind say? What is the thought when you feel the tension?
That I could not do that thing properly, perfectly.
And then if you can't do it perfectly, then what?
I will lose that opportunity.
You'll lose the competition.
Yes.
And if you lose the competition, then what?
I not feel good.
Why? Let's say, for example, let's say that you have a competition of maybe painting. Let's just say, for example, painting. And it's a painting competition. And you paint your best picture and somebody else paints a picture. But maybe she's a better painter than you are. Okay? Let's just say. And so she wins the painting competition. Why does that make you feel tense?
I'm not like that.
Why? What does it feel like inside you? Are there thoughts that you have? Imagine that somebody else just won the competition. Are there thoughts in your mind?
I think that I have do so much
So much what?
practice
Practice.
for that thing, and I not won that. I not feel good then.
Okay. So you feel like you did so much practice and still it didn't work well. And so you feel not good about yourself. Is that right? Yes. I understood? Okay. I wanted to make sure I understood fully before we answer. Actually, I should keep your mic on for you. Because, here. Your sense of how you feel about yourself, if you say, I am wonderful, okay? If I tell you, you are wonderful. Now tell me all the things that are wonderful about you.
I could do good painting.
Okay.
Dance, yoga, and chanting the shlokas and mantras.
Wonderful. So you can do good painting and dancing and singing and chanting. That's wonderful. But I didn't say you are a wonderful painter. I said you are wonderful. Now I want you to tell me things about you that are wonderful. Not what you can do, but about you. What's wonderful about you?
sometimes I feel devoted towards the Lord, and sometimes I feel unhappy for the poor people. And
those are two very wonderful things. That means that you have devotion and love. It means you have compassion and caring, and you feel a oneness with others, empathy. These are wonderful things. Now, okay. So here is the way not to feel tense about competitions. You need to realize that what is wonderful about you has nothing to do with all of the things you can do. I'm sure that you are a great painter and a great dancer, and that you can chant wonderful shlokas. But you know the truth of life? And you might as well learn it early rather than later. Pretty much there will always be people who can do things better than you can. It's just kind of the nature of life. No matter how beautiful you are, there's pretty much always somebody who's more beautiful than you are. No matter how fast you can run, pretty much always somebody who can run faster than you. Maybe not in your class, but it just means that your class is small. Then you go to a bigger school, there's going to be people better than you. You better get used to it. I remember when I went to Stanford, very good university, obviously, undergraduate, at the very beginning of freshman orientation, they gave us a lecture and they said, there are 1,500 of you. My class at Stanford, my entering class, was about 1,500 kids. They said, every single one of you was the top of your class in high school. That's why you're here. They said, now, out of 1,500, 1,499 are going to have to learn with what it feels like not to be the top of the class. And if you can't learn that, you're going to spend the next 4 years miserable. They said, our best advice to you is work hard, but recognize chances are you're not going to be the top. Get used to being in a lower percentile. Doesn't mean you're a worse person, but it just means you're in a different group of people now. So maybe amongst your small group of friends, maybe you're the best painter. Maybe you do the best shlokas. Then you come into a group of people who actually chant shlokas, and suddenly people can chant better than you. You think about the Olympics. Have you ever watched the Olympics? It's amazing, right? Now you think all of these people who are competing, every one of them, their whole life has been the best. They've won every championship. That's why they get to the Olympics. But at the Olympics, how many gold medals? 1. All of the other people who were the best, they can't all be the best. So one of the most important things in life to realize is your wonderfulness has nothing to do with your painting or your dancing or your mantra chanting or your running or your marks in school. It has to do with that within you that is the divine. And you access the divine when you love God. When you feel love for God, that's you accessing the truth of you. And when you feel sad because you see poor people or people who are suffering, that's you accessing the presence of God in you. And that's what's wonderful. And so when you have competitions, just think, okay, I'm going to do my best. But you know what? Maybe this time I'll win, but at some point in my life, there's going to be somebody better than I am. And that's okay. It's wonderful. Somebody will paint better than you, but you will paint better than so many people. Somebody will dance better than you, but you will dance better than so many other people. But don't judge yourself based on that. The tension comes because you judge yourself based on that. You say, oh, I lost the competition, I'm no good. No, you are wonderful. You are wonderful. Even if you couldn't dance at all. Even if you couldn't sing at all. You're still wonderful. The dancing and singing are bonuses. But it's not what makes you wonderful. What makes you wonderful is in here. And that's what you have to always remember. I am wonderful. I am divine. If I happen to be the best painter in this competition, I'm going to win. If I'm not the best painter, well then, thank you, God, for the opportunity to compete with somebody who's even better than I am. It's how we learn. If you're always the best, then how are you going to ever learn anything from other people? You learn because suddenly you see somebody's better than you and you say, wow, that's great. And then you learn something. Okay? Does that make sense? Wait, before you go, I want to make sure that we've gotten somewhere. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, you can ask another question. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. That's okay. It's great. I'm glad you were honest. Now, bottom line, that which makes you wonderful is the divine inside of you. Okay? It's not your painting. It's not your dancing. It's not your singing. What makes you wonderful is the divine in you. Okay? So when you go for a competition, I want you always to remember, the divine is in me. Not in my paintbrush necessarily, not in my singing, not in my tongue, not in my toes. The divine is in me. In my heart, in my soul, that is the divine. Do you believe that? Do you believe that the divine is in you?
Yes.
Great. That's the most important thing. So if the divine is in you, then who cares who wins a painting competition? Right?
Yes.
Is there anything to be tensed about then?
No.
Right? Nothing to be tensed about. You are the divine. And if somebody else is a better painter or a better singer, that's okay. Then you appreciate them, you appreciate their painting, you appreciate their singing. But you remember the divine is in me. Right? Can you do that?
Yes.
Can you remember that for me?
Yes.
Okay, so no more tension, okay? Promise?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ah, yes, he had a question here. Yes, come. Your mic then. Acha mic hai paas de dijiye. Come.
Good evening, Mother. I have a very simple question. How a common person like me, a lot more, manage the difference, the balance between attachment and detachment in our daily lives? While
How do you balance?
balance between attachment and detachment, living in a society with parents, with
Sure.
relationships with friends. How one manages that? We have been told,
Yes.
be detached.
Okay.
Now I'll extend the question. Like when I feel I should get detached from my daughters. I have 2 daughters. I don't feel good. This is a family. I should do everything for them. Now, how to practice balance, not practice, balance between attachment and detachment in every domain of life?
Great. Okay. So first of all, attachment and detachment don't actually have anything to do with love, They don't have anything to do with connection. They don't have anything to do with care. They don't have anything to do with help and support. They have only to do with how stuck my mind is. So you talk about wanting to help your daughter, but then you get detached, but then the mind says, but I should help her. Of course you should help her, she's your daughter. But can you help her without being attached to the outcome? One way of helping is we support, we love, maybe we support financially even. Beautiful. If you can do it, wonderful. Absolutely. Give your children everything you can. But give it without the attachment in the mind of कि मेरे को क्या मिलेगा उससे. That's the attachment. What am I going to get from it? At least I should get obedience. At least कम से कम जो मैं चाहता हूँ वही करे. That's the problem. Is we think वो तो मैंने सब कुछ दे दिया, कम से कम मेरा बात तो माने. कम से कम ठीक से तो बात करे मेरे से. Huh? So this is where you get stuck. That's where the giving has been much more like a contract basis giving. Then she's not your daughter, then she's some hired contract worker. I'll give you money, you do what I say. That's not love, that's not family. That's like the guy who puts in your porch. Now, for a family, just it's बंद कर रखिएगा अभी, एक second. Yeah, no, he was. बात ये है, जो attachment, it has to do with an attachment to the choices they make, the decisions they make, how they live. And whether you're giving them money, or you're giving them love, or you're giving them time, whatever it is that you are giving them, when we give it with attachment, we suffer, they suffer, our spiritual practice suffers. Detachment does not mean stop giving them love. It doesn't mean stop giving them money. It doesn't mean stop giving them support. It doesn't mean disconnect from them. What it means is unhook your emotional, psychological, spiritual well-being from the decisions that they make. That's what it means. And that's a spiritual practice. And that's the balance. But it's not a balance like, okay, I'm going to be attached over here and then unattached over here. It's not balanced like that, like 5 apples, 6 oranges, I'll get them to balance on it. Not that. Actually, we should always have detachment. So it's not a balance of attachment and detachment. It's actually how to bring detachment into my family life. So it's not, here's my family life and then here's my detachment. Full on family life, full on career life, whatever life you're living, full on live it. But live it with the thread of detachment, meaning you're doing all of that your dharma, as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a brother, as an uncle, all of the different roles that you have, you're doing that dharma fully and completely, with love, with care, with connection. But you're not doing it with attachment. Not attachment to the outcome. Otherwise we say, my God, I gave them this money, barbad kar diya, kuch nahi kiya, ye matlab bekar ho gaya. Or it's attachment to the actual person. How dare they move away? Who's going to take care of me? I did everything for them, now why are they not taking care of me? Right? This is the manipulation of our mind, and then through our mind we start manipulating people around us, and this is the end of our happy relationships. It's also the end of where Dharma is. Because Dharma is not about what am I doing so that I can manipulate others to do what I want. Doing our Dharma is its own reward. Baki log jo kare karne do. That's their Dharma. That's the detachment. Is to recognize I'm doing my Dharma, but I'm not in charge of their Dharma. Nobody gave me control over their decisions, their life, their path. So you have to detach. This is that core Bhagavad Gita teaching, right? Of do your duty fully, but without attachment to the results. And he doesn't mean it only about your work or projects. It's your love. Whatever your Dharma is, the Dharma may be just giving love, giving tenderness, giving care, giving time. But it's the same thing. You give it without the attachment. You don't have any right over the fruits. You only have rights over the planting that you are doing. Baki to Bhagwan ki hath mein hai. So that's the detachment. Don't think about it like family life over here, spiritual life over here. Then you'll just be constantly like a seesaw. Think about how can my spiritual life run through my family life? How can I do my family life spiritually? That's the question. Beautiful. Of course. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evenings, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. We will now, by God's grace, be having satsang every day. Again, I'm now back, by God's grace, not having to travel for the next several weeks. So we'll be having this beautiful opportunity to gather each night. And so